You're sitting there, browsing the internet at 2 a.m., dangerously deep in an ADV rabbit hole, asking yourself one question. Is the Honda Africa Twin the right adventure bike for me? You have no idea what you've just gotten yourself into. Let's start with a little history lesson, because Honda really wants you to know how legendary this thing is. Cast your mind back to 1988. Big hair. Kylie was telling us she should be so lucky. Questionable life choices all around. And quietly, in the background, Honda rolling into Europe with the original Africa Twin, the XR V650. A bike so good, so iconic, that Honda went completely quiet on it for almost 3 decades. Yes, they let the name die. Just gone. Much like Kylie's mullet. Although, unlike the mullet, this story has a good ending. Because in 2016, like some kind of two-wheeled phoenix rising from the Saharan dust, the Africa Twin came back. New name, CRF 1100L. New engine. New everything. Same legendary soul. And the market lost its mind. We're talking over 121,000 units sold across Europe since 2016. Best-selling Honda motorcycle for 6 out of 8 years between 2016 and 2023. 6 out of 8 years. So yeah, people seem to like it just a little bit. Now, for 2026, Honda has done something absolutely wild. They gave it new graphics. I know. Try to contain your excitement. But seriously, before you roll your eyes, let's give credit where it's due. The mechanical package underneath this thing was already so good after the big 2024 update that Honda basically said, yeah, we'll just make it look cooler. You're welcome. And honestly, they're not wrong. For 2026, you get 2 color options and both are genuinely sharp. First up, Prix Red, updated frame color, and what Honda is calling tougher graphics. Translation: it looks like it wants to fight something in the desert. In the best possible way. And then there's Pearl Glare White, with tricolor HRC graphics and gold rims. Gold rims. On an adventure bike. That is either the most extra thing you've ever heard or the coolest thing you've ever heard. And honestly, there's no wrong answer. Okay, let's talk about the part that actually matters. The heart. The soul. The reason you're watching this at 2 a.m. instead of sleeping like a responsible adult. The engine. Africa Twin runs a parallel twin pushing 1084 cubic centimeters of pure, glorious displacement. And before you say, oh, a parallel twin, how boring, stop. Just stop right there. This thing has been tuned, tweaked, and thoroughly pampered, especially after the 2024 updates. We're talking 75 kilowatts of peak power at 7,500 revolutions per minute and 112 newton meters of torque at 5,500 revolutions per minute. That's not just numbers on a spec sheet. That torque hits in the low and mid-range, which means when you crack the throttle on a gravel track in the middle of nowhere, the bike goes. No waiting, no begging, just instant, satisfying response. The bore and stroke is 92 by 81.5 millimeters, compression sits at 10.5 to 1, and Honda's using their Unicam system. A single overhead cam setup borrowed straight from the CRF 450R. Yes, the motocross bike. They literally looked at a race-bred dirt weapon and said, yes, we want some of that. Throw in a 270-degree crankshaft with uneven firing order, which gives it that thumpy, character-filled pulse rather than buzzing like an angry wasp, and you've got an engine that sounds and feels alive. Oh, and the exhaust? Updated for 2024 with a beefier lower pipe and improved internals. Low RPM? Satisfying burble. High RPM? She roars. You're welcome. Now, an engine is only as good as the chassis it sits in. And this is where the Africa Twin really starts to separate itself from the crowd. The frame is a steel main unit with a separate aluminium rear subframe, only 195 millimeters wide, by the way, which means even if you've got the inseam of a standard height human being, you've got a decent shot at touching the ground. Comforting thought, isn't it? The swing arm? Lifted directly from the CRF 450R. Again, Honda just keeps rating their own motocross parts bin, and frankly, we should all be grateful. Up front, you've got a fully adjustable 45mm inverted Showa cartridge fork with serious travel. Out back, a Showa rear shock with a 46mm cylinder and separate gas reservoir. That means it stays cool and composed even when you're absolutely hammering it through rough terrain. Ground clearance? 250mm. That's 1/4 of a meter between your engine and anything that wants to ruin your day. Wheelbase is 1,575mm. Steering angle is 27.5 degrees, and wet weight sits at 231 kilograms for the standard manual version, which, in the world of adventure bikes above 1,000 cubic centimeters, is genuinely impressively light. And the brakes? Twin 310mm wavy floating discs up front with radially mounted 4-piston calipers. Yeah, it stops as well as it goes. Oh, now we're getting to the good stuff. Because the Africa Twin doesn't just have electronics, it has the electronics. At the center of everything is a Bosch 6-axis IMU, an inertial measurement unit, measuring lean angles and movement speed in real time. And this little box of wizardry controls everything. We're talking cornering ABS with an off-road mode, because apparently Honda doesn't think you should be limited to panicking on just tarmac. Traction control with 7 levels. 7. You can literally dial in exactly how much the rear tire is allowed to step out before the electronics politely intervene. Level 7 keeps everything neat and tidy. Level 1 basically says, sure, slide it, I'll just watch. Wheelie control with 3 levels. Level 3, no wheelies, behave yourself. Level 1, controlled chaos, the IMU is watching, but it's not going to stop you having fun. Level 2, somewhere in between for the people who still haven't decided who they are as a rider. And rear lift control, because apparently Honda thought of everything, including what happens when you brake so hard that the back end wants to leave the planet. Then there are 4 riding modes: Tour, Urban, Gravel, and Off-Road. Plus 2 fully customizable user modes where you can handpick your power level, engine braking level, traction control, wheelie control, and ABS settings. Because apparently some of us like choices. Oh, and there are 4 power levels and 3 engine braking levels. On low gears at low speeds, every power level delivers the same output because Honda knows that's when things can go sideways, both figuratively and literally, and they'd like you to arrive home. Right. The practical stuff. Because adventures are great, but so is not getting a numb backside after 4 hours on the road. The cockpit is dominated by a 6.5-inch color touchscreen. And yes, before you ask, it works with gloves. Honda is not a monster. That screen connects to Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and Bluetooth. So you can run navigation, take calls through a helmet headset, and generally pretend you're an astronaut while riding through the countryside. The windscreen adjusts to 5 height positions, because different riders have different torsos, and Honda actually thought about that. Seat height goes to either 850 or 870 millimeters. The seat is narrow at the front deliberately, so you can reach the ground without doing an impression of a wishbone. The fuel tank holds 18.8 liters with a claimed fuel consumption of 0.49 liters per 100 kilometers. That's over 380 kilometers of range. Enough to get very, very lost somewhere spectacular. Standard equipment also includes cruise control, because even adventure riders like a rest for their right wrist, plus emergency brake light flashing, automatic turn signal cancellation that's actually smart about it, LED daytime running lights that adapt to ambient light, and a lithium-ion battery. They even gave it a luggage rack as standard. An aluminium one. Honda heroes. So, back to the question you came here with. Is the Honda Africa Twin the right ADV bike for me? Let me put it this way. If you want a bike that can take you from your Monday morning commute to a gravel track in Namibia on Saturday without once asking you to choose between fun and capability, this is it. If you want electronics that are actually useful rather than just impressive on a spec sheet, this is it. If you want something that's been proven over 8 years, purchased by over 120,000 people in Europe alone, and still keeps getting better, this is it. Or, and I say this with love, you could spend another 6 months reading forum arguments about which ADV bike is the best and arrive at exactly the same conclusion everyone else does. The Africa Twin. If this helped you, smash that like button. Because it physically costs you nothing and it costs me a lot of sleep. Subscribe for more bike content where we try to make the complicated stuff actually make sense. And drop a comment below, manual or DCT. Because that, my friend, is a whole other rabbit hole entirely. I'm Ava, your 2 a.m. ADV rabbit hole guide. Thanks for watching. Now go get some sleep. Stay upright.